My name is Scarlett, and the moment I saw her resume land on my desk, I felt my heart stop. 5 years of silence, 5 years of building myself from nothing. And now here she was, my sister Maya, applying for an entry-level position at the company I'd helped build from the ground up. She didn't know I worked here. She definitely didn't know I'd be the one deciding her fate. Have you ever been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect you? Let me back up. I was 18 when my parents sat me down in our cramped living room and told me I had to leave. Not because I'd done anything wrong, not because I was a bad daughter, but because Maya, my younger sister, their precious golden child, needed my college fund for her future. Scarlett, you're smart, my mother said, not even meeting my eyes. You'll figure it out. But Maya, she needs this opportunity. She got into that prestigious arts program, and we can't afford both of you. My father just nodded, his face carved from stone. It's decided. We've already withdrawn your college savings. Maya starts in the fall. I remember staring at them, waiting for the punchline, waiting for someone to tell me this was a cruel joke. But Maya sat there on the couch, her hands folded in her lap, saying nothing. Not defending me, not protesting, just accepting it. Where am I supposed to go? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You're an adult now, my father said. It's time you learn to stand on your own feet. That night, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases and a backpack. Maya came to my room once, standing in the doorway like a ghost. I'm sorry, she said. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw nothing behind those words. No fight, no guilt, just relief that she wasn't the one being sacrificed. No, you're not, I replied. But you will be. I didn't know how true those words would become. The first 6 months were hell. I slept on friends' couches until I wore out my welcome. I worked 3 part-time jobs, waitressing in the morning, retail in the afternoon, and cleaning offices at night. I ate ramen and day-old bread. I showered at the gym I couldn't really afford but kept the membership for exactly that reason. But I also studied. Every spare moment, every lunch break, every hour I should have been sleeping. I taught myself business management, marketing, graphic design. I took every free online course I could find. I read every book the library had on entrepreneurship. I watched every TED Talk, every tutorial, every lecture I could access. With the public library's Wi-Fi, I was angry. God, I was so angry. But I channeled that anger into something productive. I'd prove them wrong. I'd prove I didn't need their money or their support. I'd become successful not because of them, but in spite of them. During that first year, my phone rang exactly once with my mother's number. I answered, thinking maybe they'd realized their mistake. Maybe they'd apologized. Scarlett, Maya needs you to send back the gold necklace Grandma gave you, my mother said. She wants to wear it for her graduation photos. I hung up without saying a word. Then I blocked all their numbers. By the time I was 20, I'd landed an entry-level marketing position at a small startup called Vertex Innovations. It wasn't glamorous, the office was a converted warehouse, and my desk was a folding table. But the founder, James, saw something in me. He gave me chances to prove myself. I worked like I was possessed. Every campaign I touched succeeded. Every client I pitched signed on. I had nothing to lose and everything to prove, and that made me dangerous in the best possible way. James promoted me to team lead within 8 months, then to marketing director a year after that. When Vertex got acquired by a larger firm, they kept me on and expanded my role. At 23, I was heading the entire creative department. But success wasn't just about climbing the ladder. I made connections. I learned from everyone around me. I developed a reputation for being brilliant. Yes, but also for being fair, strategic, and someone who genuinely cared about building things that mattered. I still lived in a studio apartment, still took the bus, still bought my clothes from discount stores. But I was saving everything, investing everything, building something that couldn't be taken away from me. In those years, I thought about my family exactly once a day. every morning when I woke up and decided to prove them wrong again. I never checked their social media, never drove past the old house, never asked mutual acquaintances about them. I cut that part of my life out like a cancer and never looked back until Maya's resume arrived. I should explain what happened in those 5 years for them. I only know this because of what came later, but it's important to understand the full picture. Maya attended her prestigious arts program. My parents spent every penny of what should have been my college fund, and then some, supporting her. They took out loans. My father worked overtime. My mother picked up a second job. Maya studied photography and visual storytelling. She posted beautiful curated images on Instagram. She talked about her artistic vision and her creative journey. She graduated with honors and a portfolio that looked impressive, but had zero commercial viability. Then she hit the real world. Turns out, artistic vision doesn't pay rent. Her photography business never got off the ground. The wedding gigs dried up when couples saw her prices and her lack of professional experience. The gallery showing she dreamed about never materialized. She moved back home. My parents, now drowning in debt from her education and their own aging expenses, couldn't support her anymore. She needed a job, any job. So she started applying to corporate positions, marketing roles, anything that might value her creative eye. She was 23, living at home with an expensive degree and no practical skills. And somehow, her application landed at Vertex Innovations, now a major player in tech marketing, for a junior content creator position, the position I would be interviewing candidates for. When I saw her name on the schedule, I sat in my office for an hour just staring at it. My assistant knocked twice asking if I was okay. I wasn't. I was many things: shocked, angry, bitter, curious. But okay wasn't one of them. Part of me wanted to reject her application immediately, just delete it and pretend I never saw it. But another part of me, the part that had been building toward this moment for 5 years, knew this was something else. This was opportunity. I approved her for an interview. The day she walked into our building, I watched her on the security camera feed. She looked older, more tired than I remembered. She was wearing an outfit that was trying too hard to look professional, probably borrowed from a friend. She clutched a portfolio case like a life preserver. She checked in at reception, and I watched her fidget nervously in the waiting area. She had no idea what was coming. My assistant brought her up to the 14th floor, where the executive interview rooms were. I'd chosen the corner office deliberately. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a massive oak desk, awards and achievements lining the walls. I wanted her to understand exactly how far I'd come. I heard the knock and called for her to enter. The door opened, and Maya walked in with a practiced smile that died the instant she saw my face. "Hello, Maya," I said calmly, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. "Please sit down." She froze in the doorway. Her face went through a dozen emotions in 3 seconds: shock, disbelief, fear, confusion. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Scarlett?" she whispered. "That's Miss Chen in this office," I replied coolly. "Have a seat. We have an interview to conduct." She stumbled to the chair like someone walking through a dream or a nightmare. I let the silence stretch out, watching her squirm. I'd learned in business that silence is a weapon. People will fill it with their own anxieties and confessions. I didn't know you worked here," she finally said. "Why would you?" I replied, opening her resume on my tablet. "We haven't spoken in 5 years. Not since you took my future and said nothing." She flinched. "Scarlett." "Ms. Chen," I corrected. "This is a professional setting, and you're here as a job applicant. Let's keep it professional, shall we?" I saw her hands trembling as she clutched her portfolio. Good. "Your resume says you graduated from Parsons with a degree in visual arts," I continued, my voice perfectly neutral. "Impressive. That's an expensive program. I hope it was worth it." The words hung in the air like a blade. "Let's talk about your qualifications for this position," I said, leaning back in my chair. We're looking for a junior content creator with experience in digital marketing, brand strategy, and commercial content production. Walk me through your relevant experience. She opened her portfolio with shaking hands. I've done several photography projects. Commercial projects? I interrupted. Or personal art pieces. Well, they're artistic, but they demonstrate my creative vision. This is a business, Maya, not a gallery. We need someone who can create content that drives engagement, conversions, and ROI. Do you know what those terms mean? Her face flushed red. I can learn. Can you? I leaned forward. Because this position requires someone who can start contributing immediately. We're not a training program. We're a competitive company that needs results. I flipped through her portfolio on the tablet she'd submitted digitally. The photos were beautiful. Moody black and white shots, artistic compositions, personal projects, nothing that showed she understood marketing, branding, or commercial viability. Tell me about your experience with analytics, I said. How do you measure success in your work? She hesitated. Well, likes and comments on social media. How many followers do you have? About 800. I nodded slowly. I see. And your engagement rate? She looked lost. Do you know what an engagement rate is? I asked. She shook her head, her face burning with humiliation. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. Maya, I said, my voice softening slightly, why are you here? Why this job at this company? She looked up at me with eyes that suddenly reminded me of the little sister I'd once protected from bullies in middle school, before everything fell apart. I need a job, she said quietly. I've applied to 43 places in the last 3 months. You're the first one to give me an interview. And you had no idea I worked here? No. She wiped at her eyes. I didn't even know what you were doing. Mom and Dad, they don't talk about you. Something twisted in my chest. I imagine not. It's hard to talk about the daughter you threw away. They didn't throw you away, didn't they? I stood up, walking to the window. They gave you my college fund, Maya, my entire future. They kicked me out of my home to make room for your dreams. And you said nothing. You did nothing. I was 17. So was I when I started protecting you. I shot back. Age isn't an excuse for cowardice. The silence that fell was different this time, heavier. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was scared and selfish, and I'm sorry. I turned to look at her. Really look at her. She wasn't the golden child anymore. She was just a young woman who'd been given everything and didn't know what to do with it. A woman who'd been handed opportunity on a silver platter and never learned to fight for anything. In a strange way, my parents had failed her worse than they'd failed me. Your apology doesn't change anything, I said, but I appreciate you saying it. I walked back to my desk and sat down. Here's the situation, Maya. You're not qualified for this position. You don't have the skills, the experience, or the understanding of what we do here. If I hired you, I'd be doing my company a disservice, and I'd be doing you a disservice by giving you something you didn't earn. Her face crumpled. However, I continued, I'm not without options. We have an internship program. It's a 6-month position, unpaid, but it would give you real experience in commercial content creation, marketing strategy, and brand management. If you excel, there's a possibility of a full-time position afterward, but you'd be starting at the bottom, learning everything, and working harder than you've ever worked in your life. She looked up at me, confused. You'd give me an internship? I'm offering you a chance, I corrected. Not giving you anything. You'd have to prove yourself every single day. You'd be working under some of the best creative minds in the industry, including me, and we don't accept mediocrity. If you can't handle it, you'll be cut. No nepotism, no special treatment. In this building, you're not my sister. You're just another intern trying to make it. Why? She asked. Why would you do this for me after everything? I considered her question carefully. Because 5 years ago, I learned that the world doesn't owe you anything, I said. Everything you have to earn. That lesson destroyed me at first, but it also made me who I am. Maybe you need to learn it too. The difference is, I'm giving you a chance to learn it with support rather than alone on the street. I paused, then added, and maybe because some part of me remembers when we were kids, and you were my little sister, before our parents made you into someone else. Tears were streaming down her face now. I don't deserve this. You're right, I agreed. You don't, but that's not how this works. You want to deserve it? Then earn it. Show me that the girl I once protected is still in there somewhere. Show me that you can work for something instead of having it handed to you. I pulled out a contract from my desk drawer. I'd prepared it that morning just in case. This is the internship agreement. Read it carefully. If you sign it, you'll start Monday. The hours are long, the work is demanding, and I will be harder on you than anyone else because I have to be. People will be watching to see if I favor you, so I'll have to do the opposite. Do you understand? She nodded, taking the contract with trembling hands. Take the weekend to think about it, I said. Send me your decision by Sunday night. She stood up, clutching the papers. At the door, she turned back. Scarlett, thank you. Don't thank me yet, I replied. This might be the hardest thing you've ever done. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, watching the city lights come on as the sun set. Part of me wondered if I was making a mistake. Part of me knew I was doing exactly what I needed to do. Revenge would have been easy. Crushing her application, sending her away with nothing, letting her feel the same despair I'd felt. That would have been simple. But I'd learned something in 5 years of clawing my way up from nothing. Revenge is empty. Justice, real justice, is about balance. It's about making things right, not making things worse. Sunday night, my email pinged. Maya had signed the contract. The next 6 months were brutal for her. I wasn't exaggerating when I said I'd be harder on her than anyone else. I gave her the worst assignments. I critiqued her work ruthlessly. I made her redo projects 4 and 5 times until they met our standards. Other interns went home at 6. Maya stayed until 9. When everyone else was having lunch, she was studying analytics reports and marketing case studies. She failed. God, she failed so much at first. Her first campaign concept was derivative. Her second was impractical. Her third showed promise but lacked data support. But she didn't quit. I watched her, week after week, transform. The entitled girl who'd taken everything for granted slowly disappeared, replaced by someone who understood that success was built on failure, learning, and relentless effort. She studied our competitors. She learned analytics software. She took online courses at night. She asked questions, so many questions that other team members started joking about it. But the questions were good. They showed she was thinking. Around month 4, something shifted. She presented a social media campaign concept that was genuinely innovative. It used her artistic eye, but grounded it in solid marketing strategy and data projections. I approved it, and we implemented it. It exceeded our engagement goals by 40%. She didn't celebrate. She just moved on to the next project. I started giving her more complex assignments. She rose to meet them. But I also watched her struggle in ways that went beyond work. She was still living at home. She couldn't afford anything else on an unpaid internship. I knew she was working a night job at a coffee shop to have spending money. I knew she was exhausted. One evening, I found her crying in the bathroom around month 5. She didn't know I'd seen her. The next day, I called her into my office. We've decided to convert your internship to a paid position, I said without preamble. Junior content creator, starting salary of $55,000, you've proven yourself. Her eyes went wide. What? Don't make me repeat myself, I said. HR will send you the paperwork. You start in the new role next week. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you so much. Save it for your work, I replied. You've earned this position. Now show me you can excel in it. She did. Over the next year, Maya became one of our strongest creators. Her artistic background, combined with the brutal practical education she'd received, made her uniquely valuable. She understood both beauty and business, art and analytics. She moved out of our parents' house, got her own small apartment, started building a life on her own terms. We didn't become close. We kept our relationship professional. But I watched her grow into someone I could respect, even if I couldn't quite forgive yet. Then, about 18 months after that first interview, my father had a heart attack. My mother called me. I don't know how she got my new number, probably through Maya. I almost didn't answer. "Scarlett," she said, her voice breaking. "It's your father. He's in the hospital. It's serious. Please come." I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot for 20 minutes, debating whether to go inside. Part of me wanted to drive away, to let them face this crisis the same way they'd made me face mine, alone. But I went in. My father looked small in the hospital bed, hooked up to machines and IVs. My mother sat beside him, her face gray with worry. She'd aged a decade in 5 years. Maya was there too. She stood up when I entered, but I held up a hand. "I'm not here for a reunion," I said. "I'm here to see if he's going to be okay." My father's eyes opened. He looked at me, and for a moment I saw something I'd never expected. Shame. "Scarlett," he rasped. "Don't," I said. "Just focus on getting better." "I was wrong," he continued, his voice weak but insistent. "I was so wrong about everything. I thought I was protecting Maya. I thought you were stronger and could handle it. But I was a coward. I threw you away because it was easier than making the hard choice." My mother was crying silently. "We heard what you've accomplished," he said. "Maya told us about your career, your success. You did it all without us. You became extraordinary despite us." "Because of you," I corrected quietly. "Every time I wanted to quit, I thought about proving you wrong. So thanks for that, I guess." "I don't expect forgiveness," he continued. "I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that not a day has passed that I haven't regretted what I did to you." I looked at my mother. She couldn't meet my eyes. "And you?" I asked her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Scarlett. I was a terrible mother. I chose one daughter over the other, and I lost you both in the process. Maya hasn't been happy here. She's been trapped trying to justify what we did for her. And you." "I've been fine," I said. "Better than fine. I built a life that belongs to me, that no one can take away. I learned to rely on myself. Those are gifts in their own twisted way." I walked to the foot of the bed. "I'm not ready to forgive you," I said. "I might never be. What you did changed me fundamentally. But I don't hate you anymore. I'm too busy being successful to carry that weight." My father nodded, tears sliding down his weathered face. "I'll check in tomorrow," I said. "Make sure you're recovering, but don't mistake that for everything being okay between us. We're years away from that if we ever get there at all." I turned to leave, and Maya followed me out. In the hallway, she grabbed my arm. "Thank you for coming." "I came for me," I said. "Not for them." "I know, but still." She paused. "You saved my life, you know. The internship, the job. You gave me something to work toward when I had nothing. You taught me what real work looks like, what earning something actually means." "You taught yourself," I corrected. "I just gave you the chance." "That's more than they gave you." I couldn't argue with that. My father recovered, slowly. I visited occasionally. Always brief, always cordial, but distant. My mother tried to rebuild a relationship, but I kept her at arm's length. Some bridges once burned can't be fully rebuilt. They can only be acknowledged as ruins. Maya and I remained colleagues, And gradually, something like friendship began to emerge. Not the sisterhood we'd had as children, that was gone forever, but a professional respect that occasionally softened into genuine affection. 3 years after that first interview, I sat in that same corner office, now as VP of Creative Strategy, watching Maya present a major campaign to our C-suite. She was brilliant, confident, and completely in command of the room. When she finished, and the executives gave their approval, she caught my eye and smiled. Not a triumphant smile, a grateful one. That night, we got coffee, something we'd started doing occasionally, always on neutral ground, always focused on work or safe topics. I saw the old house sold, she said carefully. Mom and Dad are moving to a smaller place. Makes sense, I replied. Downsizing. They asked if we wanted any of the furniture or belongings. There's nothing there I want. She nodded. I figured. I feel the same way. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you ever regret it? She asked. What happened? I considered the question honestly. I regret that it happened. I regret that they chose you over me. I regret losing the family I thought I had. But I don't regret who I became because of it. The struggle made me stronger, smarter, more resilient. Would I trade that to have had an easier path? I honestly don't know. I regret it, she said quietly. I regret not fighting for you. I regret being selfish. I regret that I got to be the golden child while you got thrown away. It's poisoned everything, knowing what my success cost. Then make it worth something, I said. Be extraordinary. Be the person worthy of the sacrifice, even if the sacrifice was wrong. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm trying. I know, I replied. That's why you're still here. Years have passed since that interview. I'm a different person now, harder in some ways, softer in others. I've built an empire of my own. I've mentored dozens of young professionals. I've created campaigns that changed industries. And I've learned that revenge is a hollow goal. The real victory isn't in destroying those who hurt you. It's in becoming so successful, so fulfilled, that their opinion no longer matters. My parents and I have an uneasy peace. We see each other on holidays sometimes, always civil, never close. They're strangers who share my blood, and that's okay. Family is supposed to be more than genetics, and they failed that test. Maya and I have built something new. Not sisterhood exactly, but partnership, respect, and a strange understanding that we're both survivors of the same family dysfunction, just from different sides. Sometimes, late at night in my office, I think about that scared 18-year-old girl with 2 suitcases and nowhere to go. I think about how terrified she was, how angry, how lost, and I wish I could tell her, "You're going to make it. It's going to be harder than you can imagine, but you're going to make it." And on the other side of this pain is a version of yourself that you'll actually be proud to be. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so successful that those who doubted you become irrelevant to your happiness. That's the kind of victory that lasts. Because in the end, I didn't need them to believe in me. I just needed to believe in myself.